much for including me in your conference. In particular to all the volunteers, on behalf of the governor, we really want to thank you for what you do to make the Ombudsman program successful. As Gilbert indicated, it's not just mine, but it's my wife's as well, Stacy. Our true passion in life is to change the way that older people live their lives. I've left the business. My wife continues to operate it along with some terrific employees. But it's our belief that the nursing home industry, the nursing home stock in this country needs to be completely rebuilt. That just because a person gets old, they don't lose their desire to have privacy. They don't lose their desire to live in a dignified environment. And they don't lose their rights to be treated as a human being. And unfortunately, there continue to be settings out there that, in our opinion, are just not appropriate. I remember when we got involved early on and we built our very first building. And Gilbert will remember times like this because he was so active. When we built our very first building, we did everything. I liked the landscape, so I was sort of the gardener. And Stacy, my wife, was the greeter. And we would all help at lunch and do whatever it took to help out. And one day, one of the residents came up to me and said, "Excuse me, but would you please tell me your name because I'd like to turn it into the owner. I think you should be Employee of the Month." And I took that as the biggest compliment that I could possibly receive. Over the years, we've had interactions with the Ombudsman program, and I want to say a few things about why it's so important. First of all, it's incredibly important to the resident and their families. There are things that don't go right, no matter how impassioned the operators and the employees are of our facilities. There are times that they just don't go right, and there needs to be somebody that you can call and that can intervene and help make things right. And obviously, the Ombudsman program is incredibly important to them. The second thing is it's very, very good for the facilities as well. I can specifically think of 2 or 3 times where residents or families might have called the state so that we would have generated inspectors and reviews and perhaps deficiencies, but instead contacted Ombudsman because of situations that we just didn't handle very well. And the Ombudsman volunteers and paid staff came out and we were able to resolve the issues without it becoming a full-blown problem. So it's a very, very good sort of intermediary step between the institute, between the facility and the Department of Aging. The Ombudsman plays a very important role. And the third thing that I want to say is just really to say how happy we are that Gilbert is in the position that he's in. What Gilbert brings that is so incredibly important is that he's from the industry. He understands inside and out what it takes to operate a facility. He knows what all of us that have run facilities know, which is that you can love your residents, love your families, and still make mistakes. And he comes at it from a perspective that's allowed the program to be extremely successful. Now, none of it could succeed without the support of all the volunteers. And Gilbert's told me that there are a few hundred of them across the state, and that's phenomenal. So thank you very much for the important role that you are taking. The governor, as a result of your hard work and the success of the program, has issued a proclamation. I didn't bring my reading glasses, so if it starts to sound a little disjointed, it's because I'm making it up. But I'm going to try to hold this way out here and read this proclamation. But it's a proclamation by the governor to the people of Kansas. Whereas there are over 28,000 long-term residents and nearly 650 long-term care facilities in the state of Kansas. And whereas the Kansas Long-Term Ombudsman Program encompasses more than 200 volunteers and 11 paid staff members who serve as advocates for residents of long-term care facilities. And whereas during 2005 to 2007, Ombudsman staff and volunteers received more than 8,232 complaints. Oh my goodness. Okay. I think only a couple of them were from our facilities, but whereas the Federal Nursing Home Reform Act of 1987 guarantees residents their individual rights in order to promote and maintain their dignity and autonomy, and whereas all residents should be aware of their rights so they may be empowered to live with dignity and self-determination, and whereas we wish to honor and celebrate those citizens by recognizing their individuality and reaffirming their rights as a commitment to members of Kansas, commitment to their community as members of Kansas, and whereas individuals and groups across the state seek to emphasize the importance of affirming these rights, now therefore I, Captain Sebelius, Governor of the state of Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 28th to May 2nd, 2008 as long-term resident rights week. Congratulations. I'm just going to mention one more thing before I turn this back to Gilbert, and that is that the legislature has difficult budget decisions every year, and virtually every program we could justify spending more money on. This is a program that has uniquely demonstrated its ability to help out elder folks either in a residential setting as well as the facilities themselves. And there are some staffing issues right now. You're up here on an interesting day. Gilbert will probably explain to you that there are attempts to cut some of the staffing. And so we would just lend our total support to the effort that you are undertaking and encourage you to do whatever you can to work with Gilbert to make sure that you're fully funded so that you can continue to do the work that you are doing. Again, thanks for that work, and thank you very much for including me.